Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. This is the Gaming Muse, aka AJ, and I am here with Gareth Morgan from Zenithfilms Studios. I guess you'd be actor, director, producer for the studio. You have your hands in a lot of things, right?
Pretty much. In terms of like the behind the scenes sort of stuff, Zenithfilms is me. And then my team are basically the actors that you see on camera.
So we're here today to talk about a project that y'all have recently finished. It was last year, I believe it came out.
Came out in November.
Yeah.
November 17th.
Yeah, so the project is Silent Hill Requiem. It was a fan film funded entirely through Indiegogo, I believe. That's been going on for 3 or 4 years now?
Yeah, we got funded in 2014, March I believe, 2014, and then I just was working on it solidly from then all the way through till November last year.
Wow, and you were basically the behind the scenes editing, cutting, all that was you.
Yeah, everything you see in the film is made by my hand.
It's a really big project. Congratulations. That might drive me insane.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that. I mean, it did start to get to me at some points, but it was just one of those things. It's like, I need to prove that I can make a feature film by myself.
Yeah. Was this your first?
This is my first sort of like full-length feature film. Prior to this, one of my first films was like 45 minutes long.
Oh, wow, great job. For that to be your first film and doing it all yourself, and then you're of course acting in the film as well. You play James Sunderland and have a pretty big role in the film. That's a lot to take on, and I think you did a really good job.
Thanks.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about Zenithfilms? That's the name of your studio. Is that what the correct wording would be?
To you guys over the pond, it's Zenithfilms. To us, it's Zenithfilms. Zenithfilms pretty much started out when I was at university doing my film degree. Prior to Zenithfilms, I was a professional dancer. I ran a dance company called Zenith Dance. We ran that for about 5 years. This would have been turn of the century. We started as a performance company, but as time went on, we became more of a teaching company. And it got to the point where the two of us that were running it, was me, myself and my girlfriend at the time, were like, we don't want to be teachers. We kind of just stopped and went travelling around Southeast Asia. Kind of went our separate ways at that point as well. And when I got back to the UK, because I just basically ran out of money, I took another year to decide what to do, and I was like, right, well, I'm going to go to uni and get a degree. Because I'd been dancing for so long in the actual professional field, I didn't feel like doing a full dance degree would have been the right way to go. I would probably clash with the lecturers. We'd sort of got into film at the end of our dance company because we were finding it harder and harder to do live performances. We were doing more stuff for camera, and I kind of got a little love for editing and for working with the camera, and it gives you more scope than a live performance. Live performance you get one go, whereas with film you can do another take and you can go back and refilm stuff, and you've just got a little bit more control over the final output. And so there was a university in Leicester, De Montfort, that was doing split degrees, and they were doing one in dance and film. So I was like, perfect, I'll take that. In terms of the film side of my degree, I was going gangbusters. I was learning so much new stuff. The lecturers I got on with really well. There was one tech there called Jez. Without him, I don't think I'd be as good as I am today if it wasn't for him. He was only a technician, and most people sort of write off technicians, but he was amazing. I always went to him. I never went to my lecturers. If I had something to show, I went straight to Jez. Jez, what do you think to this? He kind of helped me learn how to do initial green screen stuff. In my first year, I didn't use green screen until the end, and I did a little bit of green screen for our end of year project, which got the highest grade it could get. I remember the lecturers watching it back and then sort of turned to us like, this is more than what we expect from a first year performance. And I was just like, okay, how am I going to top that?
Silent Hill Requiem is a lot of green screen work, isn't it?
It's all green screen. There's not a single shot in Requiem that isn't green screen. Because in my second year at uni, that's when I started to get more into green screen, and my graduation piece was sort of half live, on set, so to speak, and then half green screen. And then in my third year, my end piece was all green screen, and that's what got me my first class honours degree.
Was Silent Hill Requiem done at all during uni, or was that afterward?
No, it was everything at uni was centered around this other project of mine called the Hill Requiem, which is kind of a steampunk sort of adventure film based on the ideas of small town mentality. See, where I come from is a small town in the middle of nowhere, and there are people in that town that have been born there, they will live there, and they will die there, and as far as they're concerned, there's no world beyond the walls of the town. And it always reminds me of that line from Romeo and Juliet, there is no world beyond Verona's walls. And so at uni, my focus was all on making this Hellstadarian project. I'd had an idea for a Silent Hill film back when I played Silent Hill 3, but I never thought I'd be anywhere near capable of ever pulling something like that off.
How did that happen? Getting into a career like this or studying this and then thinking, I really should make a film about Silent Hill. Like, how did you make that jump?
It was actually a move of desperation. Basically, once I finished uni, I started up Zenithfilms, and for the first 4 years I was doing alright. I was making a bit of cash, making little films for people. I did some community outreach work in film training and stuff. But then everything started to dry up. I mean, I was always working on my own little projects. I always had little short films I was making, which you can see on my YouTube channel. But then it got to, I believe it was November 2013, and I had £10 to my name. There was a bit of money coming in about a month's time, but right at that minute in time, all I had was the £10 in my hand. And I was just like, what do I do? Do I keep going with this filmmaking lark and, just see where it takes me? Or is it time to switch tracks? So you're basically talking to God. And I was like, I need a sign, give me a sign. Then the next day, I was on Facebook. I came across a post on Silent Hill Heaven. Someone had shared a post from Brett Driver, and it was for his crowdfunder for his little Silent Hill short film. Basically is set just prior to Silent Hill 2 starting. So he was doing a crowdfunder for that, and he was actually raising money. And I was surprised. I was like, oh no way, so people are still interested in seeing sort of Silent Hill film content. That's what sparked the idea, not to do a crowdfunder, but it was like, well, I've got this idea for a Silent Hill film I've had for years. Maybe I should do a little 2-minute section and just make that and then stick that on my YouTube channel and see if that will generate interest. I had, for my sins, I had the HD collection of Silent Hill 2 and 3 from my Xbox 360. So I put Silent Hill 3 on and I was just starting playing it, and then I got to the section where she's on the subway train, just leaving the station on her way home. And I just love that scene, the way they've crafted it, because you're on, the camera's from behind, she's just stood there with a high camera. You can see all the way down to the vanishing point of like the train car, and you just got the background whizzing past you. And and you feel like you're moving forward, but the fact of the matter is you're not moving. It's the backgrounds that are moving, and it's that illusion. Yeah, and that's just, I just love the way mechanically it was made. And I was just thinking, well, now that I've got a good grasp of green screen, I can do that. I can make it feel like a train moving through an environment.
That's really interesting that was your inspiration, because I feel like that's some of the strongest film work in the film. Is the subway scenes were very like they felt visceral, and the movement was part of that. You did a really good job with that.
And so I was like, okay, that bit, because the idea for Silent Hill Requiem was always this idea of the surviving characters being brought back to Silent Hill to stop an outbreak. That was always the idea of the film.
And a requiem, being a gathering of people for an observance, a funeral, that kind of thing. Yeah. And
that's where the name come from. And so I was like, well, I'm going to centralize this little 2-minute short around Cheryl, because the film was always going to be about Cheryl. Obviously James, Henry, etc. were going to be in it, but she was always going to be the central focal point because she's my favourite character.
Very good choice.
Yeah, I mean, my favourite game, I'd have to say Silent Hill 2. Not because of the story or the characters, more for the aesthetic of the fact that in Silent Hill 2, the antagonist is the town itself. Mm-hmm. And rather than the order, it's the town itself has this kind of, capacity for almost consciousness.
Yeah, story-wise, Silent Hill 2 is very strong in that what they've written is so well constructed.
Yeah. So I was like, right, I'm going to make a 2-minute short. Cheryl wakes up on the subway train. Radio's going crazy. She walks over to turn it off. There's a gun under the newspaper. She's attacked by a monster. She defends herself, which she hasn't had to do in a while, so she kind of falls back into old routines. Then She goes into the next car and comes across James, and James is basically rambling nonsense and then kills himself. And then over the speaker it says next stop Silent Hill. You hear the door open behind her, she spins round and there's Robbie, and he does the whole Jacob's ladder head thing. She draws her pistol and she fires, then it comes up Silent Hill Requiem, and that was all it was ever going to be. I approached Olwen to play Cheryl, but unfortunately, because I had no money, so I couldn't pay anyone. At that moment in time, she didn't have any free time. She was knee deep in one of her performance pieces, because Olwen is a performance artist as well as an actor. She pretty much does film work for me these days, so she couldn't give me any free time. It just so happened though that another actress friend of mine had come back from Scotland after doing a PGDE to start doing a drama teaching job at one of the local high schools in Leicester. So I approached her and I said, it's going to be an evening's worth of filming, no more than a couple of hours. Are you up for it? She's like, well, I haven't done anything in a long time, so yeah, I'm definitely up for it. 2 weeks later, we scheduled to film it, and this was Della Day. If you watch the proof of concept, it's actually a different actress playing Cheryl. After we finished filming, I took the shots to the computer, and at this point I was thinking, I'm not sure what art style I'm going to use, because I knew I was going to use an art style because I use quite heavy saturation, primarily because it helps blend the actors and the backgrounds together.
It makes it look less like it's people tacked on a green screen.
Yeah, so it helps with kind of bleeding that superimposing out. To get me started, I just took the art style I used on Episode, which is kind of this bluey kind of noir-y look, and I just kind of dropped it on and just started to mess around, and eventually landed on that kind of grey sort of colour that the film is. And I'd been working on a single shot of Della where she's looking over her shoulder kind of towards the camera when she notices that the nurse is on the train with her. Like, okay, I'm going to get some feedback, some fan feedback. So I took the still and put it on the group and said to them, what do people think? And within like half hour that image had gone viral.
Silent Hill fans are very, very dedicated, and I'm not surprised that this kind of project might not have worked with every fandom. I'm not surprised that it went viral.
So then within like a couple of hours I noticed my like count on my fan page had rocketed up from nothing to something. And I was being inundated with questions, loads of comments on the image. What's this? Is it a new game? Is it a new film? Who's this? Etc. etc. And I then started to get friendly with the admins of other Silent Hill Facebook groups. Silent Hill Historical Society, Silent Hill Paradise, Silent Nerd when it was still being active. They started asking me questions, and I tried to, give them as much information as I could, because they were telling me, we're getting inundated with questions.
We don't know what's going on.
We've got no idea what's going on. You've literally just come out of nowhere. So I got talking with Will and with Whitney. And like I said, this is just this little 2-minute short film, and that's all it's going to be. I've got the script for the larger project, but I just, without a budget, I can't realise it. And then I can't remember if it was Will or if it was Whitney, but one of them said, well, why don't you crowdfund it? And I'll be honest, I rolled my eyes. I was like, I'd already tried crowdfunding twice before for 2 of my own projects. They'd both been unsuccessful. Well, I wasn't too sure about it. They kept on at me. And I was like, alright, well, I've got nothing to lose. I was like, okay, alright, it won't just be a 2-minute short, it will be a 2-minute proof of concept instead. And then I realised that in the 2-minute short, James shoots himself.
I had wondered about that when I saw the film. I was like, is this a manifestation? Or that's what my thought was.
Because a lot of people always said, James should have killed himself at the end of Silent Hill 2. So I was kind of fulfilling that prophecy. But as far as I was concerned, because I knew the larger story, this was just an hallucination. And I was just thinking, well, that's leaving it like that is going to alienate too many people. So how can I explain through the medium that this isn't James, this is just Silent Hill, basically messing with Cheryl,
doing what Silent Hill does best?
I was like, I don't know what to do. In the script, the reveal of James not being James, as you've seen in the film, is a much longer scene, and I just didn't have the time or the money to film that. So I went back to Silent Hill 2, and I was like, in moments like this, I play the games and let inspiration hit me. And of course, turned on Silent Hill 2, and there it was immediately, the opening of the game where Maria's in the prison cell talking to James, and James is like, but you died. And I was just like, there you go, perfect. It's not how it is in the film, that doesn't matter because this is a proof of concept. What I'll do is this, but I'll role reverse. So it's James in the prison, and Cheryl finds James, and Cheryl's like, James, but I saw you kill yourself. And he's like, what do you want about? I'd never kill myself. It's something that he said in Silent Hill 2. And so I kind of scribbled this down, and I was like, right, I need to go and beg Della for a few more minutes of her time. And she agreed to do one more evening of filming, but that was it, because her job was kind of starting. And then I thought, well, since I've got you for the evening, rather than it just be 2 scenes back to back, let's film a load of trailer shots, so moments from the larger film that don't have any dialogue, they're just all visual. So like you trying a door that's locked, you shining a torch down a corridor, and we just filmed all these little random shots, you crawling down the air duct and all this sort of stuff. I then put it together as this 5-minute proof of concept. So you had the initial scene on the subway train, then you had a bunch of trailer shots, just random shots of Cheryl doing stuff or stuff happening to her, and then that leads into this new scene where we discover that James isn't dead. They have this conversation in the prison cell, which ends very much the same way as it does with James and Maria, with James putting his hand on Cheryl's face. Cheryl says this town is insane, and James says, well, what if we're the ones that are insane? Then by this time the music is ramped up, and then it ends, and that was the proof of concept. Because we filmed it in the November, and then I released it at the end of January the next year with the crowdfunder. I didn't think anyone was going to give me any money.
And you were probably greatly surprised.
I just said, no one's going to fund this. It was like, what is the barest minimum I can do this for? And I worked it out at $3,000. That was bare minimum. That meant I would see none of it. The money would purely be for the actors and the costume department. So I put the crowdfunder up for $3,000, and within 7 days we'd raised $3,000.
Wow, it was that quick of a turnaround.
It was that quick. It was unbelievable.
That's amazing. It's a dedicated group of people, these fans.
Yeah, I think it was, in the end, the initial 3,000 was funded by, I think it was 80 people.
Wow.
Of course, the crowdfunder was up for 45 days. So I was like, well, I'll do stretch goals and we'll just leave it running, and if we get more money, then we get more money.
And what did you end up with at the end?
After 45 days, literally 5 minutes before it ended, we hit 5k.
How many people donated?
In total, I believe it was 112. And then once it was funded, I just started working on it, with Della handing the role of Cheryl over to Owen, who was now free to be in the final film. Because I'd been working on loads of stuff in between, waiting for that one project to take off.
And that was this project.
Yeah.
Instead of a film, the sequel, Lazarus, is going to be a series of episodes. I believe you told me it was 12 episodes at this time?
Yeah, the idea is for it to be a 12-part sort of web series that happens 16 years after the events of Silent Hill Requiem. And it's going to have some of the original characters from Requiem in it, but it's following a different lead character. A lead character that technically hasn't been in a Silent Hill game, but was going to be in a cancelled Silent Hill game, which was going to be Silent Hill Cold Heart, until that got turned into Silent Hill Shattered Memories.
At the end of the film, the original film, there's a short, I believe, 8-minute teaser for Lazarus. How much of Lazarus is filmed right now?
None of it. All that's been filmed was what you saw in that 8-minute sort of proof of concept.
So sort of like what you did with the original movie, you filmed the proof of concept, that's all you have. Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what I normally do. Short films have a purpose. The purpose that I see for short films is to use them as a proof of concept. Make a short 2 to 5 minute bit of what you want to do as a larger project, and then use that little chunk as your, shall we say, bargaining tool to raise money to make the larger thing. So that's how I've pretty much done what I've been doing ever since I started Zenithfilms. I've been making all these little short films that could easily become feature-length projects, but they would need money to do that. So what I did with Silent Hill Requiem is basically how I tried to get all my projects off the ground. Also, a lot of these are based on other people's intellectual property. So
the way these usually work, you made Silent Hill Requiem with support from fans, and for people who didn't support the Indiegogo, you can send money in to support Zenithfilms, and then you get a copy of the film rather than you're not buying the film.
Oh no, because I'm not selling Silent Hill Requiem. That would be against the law. Now what it is there are bits of Silent Hill Requiem on YouTube that you can see now, like the opening 30 minutes are on there. There's like 3 teasers, a trailer, and there's 2 clips as well. So there's loads of stuff for you to go watch now on my YouTube channel, so you can get a feeling for what it is I'm doing. And if you like what I'm doing, then if you make a donation to Silent Hill Lazarus to help us get all the budget for that, currently we've got half of what we want. If you make a donation to Silent Hill Lazarus, you'll obviously get everything that comes with Silent Hill Lazarus, but you'll also get Silent Hill Requiem as a thank you.
You said this was your first feature film, basically, the huge project to do entirely by yourself, and now you're trying to go ahead and turn it into basically a short TV series. What have you learned or taken from Requiem that you want to apply to Lazarus going forward?
In terms of narrative, I mean, obviously, one thing we haven't actually mentioned in this is that you were the consultant for the Requiem script. So what we haven't actually mentioned, guys, is that when I decided to take all of what was in my head and in my notebooks and finally pull it down into a script, I felt that I needed to work with someone that knew Silent Hill more than I did. Now, I'm no slouch when it comes to Silent Hill lore, but you know a fuck sight more than I do. And I had come across your 4th Floor website. Yeah, I think it was via either you had posted it in one of the Facebook set of Silent Hill groups.
It may have been either the Facebook page, or at one time I was trying to post it to the wiki, and so it may have come up there.
Yeah, so I found out about it. This actually prior to actually starting the whole Silent Hill Requiem project, and then when when we got crowdfunding, I started to fall boy. I was like, that 4th Floor website. Who run that 4th Floor website? So went and found it was you, and I was like, yeah, you. I need you.
Well, I hope I was of some help.
Oh, absolutely. You helped me craft the entire movie. If you remember that when we did finish the final draft of Requiem, there were still a lot of ideas that we pulled away. It was like, that takes us a little bit off plot. We don't really need that. Let's trim the fat. But I kept all of these ideas that we kind of slowly took out of Requiem where it didn't feel like it was necessary to its plot. And that was kind of the idea for what drove Lazarus. It was like, well, I've got all of these cool ideas that would work within context to Silent Hill, but they don't work in terms of an ongoing narrative for a movie, but they would work as episodes in a kind of X-Files or like Haven or even Smallville type Twin Peaks kind of idea, where you've got this overarching plot, but every other week there's just a random episode, like a Freak of the Week episode that starts and concludes within its own episode. It might add to the character's kind of development, but it doesn't have anything to do with the overarching plot. But sometimes I'm not sure if people consider things about Silent Hill in the fact that you think that Harry, James, Cheryl and Henry were the only people affected by Silent Hill? What about the tens, maybe hundreds of people that Silent Hill has judged that we haven't seen? Or how about people that got judged but didn't get through, were either are still lost in Limbo World, Fog World, whatever you want to call it, or were killed by Silent Hill. What happens to them? I kind of work with that idea in Requiem. Again, I don't want to give away too much, but the reason why some characters are coming back from the dead is because of that paragraph in Henry's scrapbook. Through the ritual of the Holy Assumption, he built a world. It exists in a space separate from the world of our Lord. More accurately, it is within, yet without the Lord's world. Unlike the world of our Lord, it is a world in extreme flux, unexpected doors or walls, moving floors, odd creatures. A world only he can control. Anyone swallowed up by that world will live there for eternity, undying. They will haunt that realm as a spirit. How can our Lord forgive such an abomination? From that, I have delved that anyone that is killed by Silent Hill or by like Desonans of the other world and Limbo world, they become trapped there. Yeah, so they've died as far as we're concerned. They're no longer part of our reality, but they haven't ceased to exist.
I mean, where do the monsters come from? You know?
Well, exactly.
It's kind of the idea of the full circle theory that comes from Downpour, where if you do bad enough, you start over at the beginning. The idea that if you're in Silent Hill and you don't do things properly, or you don't repent or what have you, you're just there forever.
And again, that's something I want to explore more in Lazarus.
Yeah, the Requiem is, I feel like, a stepping stone to, you know, this has opened the door to so much more, and I really can't wait to see where it goes. Thank you so much for spending all this time talking to me and taking the time to, you know, incorporate me in this. It's been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed it.
No, I mean, thank you for helping out initially with the script. And you know, if it wasn't for that, I don't know how far I would have got.
Oh, I'm glad I was of help. I was thrilled to, really, honestly, when I received that, I was like, wait a minute, me? Is there someone behind me? It was very cool. I'm gonna put this up on YouTube in a shorter form, and put maybe the whole thing up on a podcast somewhere. I'll have to look into that, but we'll be doing more of this in the future. I know we talked about, doing another one that's got even more, you know, detail and more spoilers about the film. Eventually maybe doing commentary tracks, so there will be a lot more coming in the future about both Requiem and Lazarus.
Yeah, awesome.
Hopefully, if you haven't heard about it, you should really check it out, because I really enjoyed it. I think it's really awesome. And again, that's Silent Hill Requiem and Silent Hill Lazarus from Zenithfilms. Or Zenithfilms.
Whichever works for you. I'm easy. No, brilliant. Thanks a lot. And thank you for everyone that's listened to this. I hope it's been enjoyable.
Yeah, thank you. And see you next time.